but you never hear him.
Oh, I'm not stressed. I'm just,
Well, you know the train's going to go through too, but I never hear that either.
the train's going to go through probably in about an hour.
Yeah.
Anyway. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yeah? You feel like you need to like shake it off a little bit?
I'm
Like
good.
one of my mentor coaches always says, you just want the butterflies flying in the same direction.
Yeah.
It's great to
I
have
like that.
butterflies. It's great to have that excitement. It's great to have that, oh my God,
Yeah.
lean into the excitement. And she says, just shake it off. So I'm just
Yeah.
shaking that energy up. And here we go. So, welcome everybody. I'm Wendy and with Steph. Hey, Steph. And
Hi.
we're a little fancy today because we are talking with, I just lost your name, Suzanne Stafford. And I want to, she's, by the way, I can't talk. Real life. She's a designer. What, Steph?
Oh, I just laughed. Sorry.
No, I'm reading. I can't see you. I love that you laugh. Laugh at me. This is what it's all about. Anyway, Suzanne Stafford is our guest today. She is a designer and a fairy queen. And she'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. So listen, are you exhausted by adulting? I freaking am. I don't know about you guys. Immerse yourself into the magic and fun of costume. So Suzanne Stafford grew up in Newcastle, Wyoming in the beautiful Black Hills. Oh my gosh. I think of Black Hills gold and the jewelry. Since then, she has moved south through Denver, Colorado, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Houston, Texas, New Orleans, Louisiana, and now the Mississippi, right? Okay, good. Gulf Coast. She loves learning, reading, art, dance, travel, history, and museums. She got her first sewing machine when she was 8. Growing up, she wanted to be a fashion designer. And instead, she was a licensed commercial interior designer for almost 30 years. She took a break to homeschool her son for 10 years. She had a wonderful time experiencing museums, living history, and hands-on classes. Her son graduated and is off to college. Her new focus is costumes, community, and causes. Creating real connection between people at fun costumed events, making memories, and raising money for a good cause. Let me ask you guys, could you hear the mower in that?
No.
Okay. Real life problems when you're trying to podcast. Right down there. Anyway, welcome, Suzanne Stafford.
I am very excited to be here with you ladies.
Welcome.
Oh my gosh. Go, Steph.
Oh, I'm just super happy to have you here. I'm excited to hear about the fairy ball and all the things you do. Thus, I wore my feather.
That
So,
is awesome.
yes.
I know, right? Steph showed up and I'm like, oh my God, luckily I had my crown handy. But everything
Keep a crown by your desk.
I just had it handy. I could just grab it. But the background, as soon as you logged in, Suzanne, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the headdresses and the clothes, and I'm so excited. We're so excited. And so to start us off, would you share more about your journey? You've been to all the places, you've moved around a lot, and now well, just share with us your journey. Like, how did you go from interior designer to fairy ball queen?
Awesome. Well, as you said, I grew up in the Black Hills, which is a beautiful, beautiful place, but there are no people. We had to drive 90 miles to the nearest mall if we wanted to go to the mall. This was a 2 stoplight town. So as soon as I graduated from high school, I packed all my belongings and I moved to the big city of Denver. I chose to do interior design instead of fashion design because at that time I didn't want to move to New York City or anything, and I thought interior design would be a little bit more employable than fashion design. So I really enjoyed doing that for like 30 years, mostly for really big corporate things in government. So I was helping the people that worked there have a better work environment because they're at work more than they're at home. So I thought that was very important and it was fulfilling and I loved it. But I was in the corporate world, like really big corporate world, like meeting with heads of huge departments, judges, things like that. Very, very corporate. I mean, for example, my hair, I did start out with this. When I was in college, funny, I could not get a free internship because my hair was spiked.
Oh,
So I had to grow my hair out into a bob, a nice, nice girl bob, to get
mm,
a free internship. So I
really?
did that, and after, a year or two in, then I changed my hair back to the spike, and I've had it like that since then. But, you have to conform a lot to,
Mhm.
survive and thrive in the corporate world. And, as a designer, I was able to dress a little bit more dressed up, more a little bit more wild than just like a black suit kind of
Mm.
a thing. And it just was really soul sucking, after years of doing that. And I worked different places, and moved different to different areas, but it was still overall they require you to conform to a certain level to be in that world, which is fine, but as a creative person, that was just
Yeah,
very draining to me. So I
yeah.
have always done costuming as my creative outlet. So I probably started going to Renaissance festivals,
Um,
I don't know, probably late 90s, I suppose. But I guess first, I mean, which was sort of fun, and I didn't even have that in there. I went to an interior design college, so of course my best friend was a gay man, and he was actually a drag queen. And so I
oh,
spent my early 20s going to drag functions because
Mhm.
those at that time, those were the only people that were dressing up.
Yep.
And
mm,
I wanted to wear the fancy gowns and go to a party. So that's where I went to first dress up. And, so at that time it's like, ooh, one of my favorite times was I was dressed up really nice and somebody wandered along and said, "Are you a woman or a man? I don't know." It's like, yeah, I did it. I did it.
you know,
I
Yeah,
love it.
that was fun,
mission
because that was
accomplished.
the big hair and, the wig and, the dress and everything.
Mhm.
It was just awesome. That was more of probably a late 1800s look, beautiful, beautiful gown, but that was just fun. So at that time, that was the only place I knew that you could go and get dressed up because at that point, I didn't live in the South with Mardi Gras. They didn't have that. So that was the only dress up kind of thing at that point. And then I started going to Renaissance festivals, and because I sewed, I always made my own things. Of course, you've got Halloween, but that's only once a year, and that's not enough. So I think later, probably late 90s, I started having a big costume party, at my birthday, so it was opposite from Halloween. So that way there was another reason to make a costume because also
Right.
I don't want to make a costume unless I have somewhere to wear it.
Yep.
It's like, okay, you could buy a dress, cool, but unless you're wearing it somewhere, why have you bought the thing? I mean,
Mhm.
Right.
you could dress up in your house in these gowns and lounge around, but that's sort of not fun. I mean, you want people
Mm,
to see it. That's sort
right.
of the point. You got to go out. You got to go
Yep.
find people. So, doing, the costume parties and things like that. And then I guess by that point, then I had moved to New Orleans with Mardi Gras, which is fabulous.
Mhm.
I always dreamed of going to Mardi Gras and never thought I would live there. And we lived in New Orleans for a while, but we probably went to, Mardi Gras Day in New Orleans, to see Zulu and Rex with my son probably for 10 years. And that was just
Wow.
awesome.
That's
Um, that it wasn't as much costuming for me, but you're around the other people that are dressed up and
mm,
it's just a lot of fun.
mm,
And, of course, you go to the balls and then you can dress up. If
Mhm.
you're on the court, you get more dressed up and more fancy things, and that's fun. And I helped with he was in a kids crew for like 15 years. He started when he was 3. And I
Oh,
helped them sew some of their boys' court costumes. So he was on the court most of the time. That was
that's cool.
Crew of Little Rascals in New Orleans and Metairie, and that's an awesome group for kids. Um, a lot of differently abled children, and then they have a lot of the
Mm,
sick children from the Children's Hospital get to experience Mardi Gras
mm,
as well. So it's a great organization. But I help them, as being on the board and help them with their costumings and things. And that was, getting into a different aspect of costuming that I had not done that before because mostly I'd only ever sewn for myself. I
Mhm.
wasn't sewing for somebody else. I just made whatever my costume was.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
then I guess that was about the time it was my son was in kindergarten and my ex-husband had passed away unexpectedly, which was a little bit of a wake-up call. He was only 41
Mm,
that, you
wow.
know, you you want to make sure life counts, and luckily, with him and my son Apollo, we had done everything. I mean, there wasn't anything that he had missed out on doing with
Yeah.
Apollo, even though, we were divorced and lived different places. He always came to town, and we made sure we did whatever family things. So he got to see all of the things, even got to go to the Mardi Gras parades and that. So at that point, I guess I decided um, to to s- stop working so much on my career and focus on homeschooling
Mhm,
because to me the love of learning and the excitement was most important for him.
right.
And I tried all sorts of different schools and they just were not working. So
Mm,
I had the opportunity to, step back from working and homeschool. And that I I never would have thought I would have done that in a million years because I
really?
was, a corporate, businesswoman. It's like, why on earth would I do that? But it was so amazing. Yes, there are difficult things, but
Mm,
it's spending time with your child. That's
mm,
invaluable. And that's not what anybody even talks about. It's just homeschooling. Well, that's not it. It's the relationship you're
mhm,
building with your child. And
right.
so I was more I like the Charlotte Mason Montessori style. I'd always worked that with my son with that. I mean, we did the baby sign language and all of those kinds of things when he was little. And
Yeah.
so I continued doing that when we were homeschooling. So it would be called, Charlotte Mason, Montessori, unschooling, any of those. I've found every hands-on learning activity that I could possibly find for him to do. But the part that nobody talks about is I got to go do those with him.
Yep.
So I
Mm,
was doing those too,
mhm,
not just
Mhm.
him.
Yep.
yeah.
And I took the grandparents with them. So
Mhm.
whenever my parents were snowbirds and they were down, we would take grandma and grandpa, me and Apollo to the field trip. So,
Mhm.
you know, the regular museums and whatever, but some of the most fun field trips we went on was I had the sword casting guy from Austin, Texas come and we made sand cast aluminum swords in the backyard with about 50 people
Oh
twice.
my gosh.
So that was awesome. So how many
Oh,
times have you got to make a hand cast aluminum sword based on, medieval weaponry?
Yeah.
no,
No,
you could.
not it. And it's awesome. It's an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Adults even like that. So
Of
that was
course.
really fun. We've seen the replica of the Nina and Pinta
Oh,
several times. And, until you actually step on that boat, it's like, these were really small. They were some strong people to get on
yeah,
this little bitty
right?
boat and go across the water when you don't know if
Mhm.
you're going to die, kind of a
Mhm.
thing. I
Yeah,
mean, it wasn't like,
right.
oh, we know where we're going. They had no idea.
No
Yeah.
idea.
They had no idea. So just
Yeah.
hands-on things like that. I mean, we dug for
Wow.
dinosaur bones in Wyoming. We've gone to, the Colonial Williamsburg and seen the
Mhm.
battlefields and, every kind of special museum exhibit, that we could find, whether it's, the Mayans or the Incas or the, you know, Da Vinci, all kinds of hands-on science things, dissections, just any of those kinds of things. And that also helped give him a good idea of what career potentials that there
Oh,
could
right.
be,
Mm.
because he he saw those things, you know, and then, I think I started taking him to those career fairs like in, sixth or seventh grade. And
Yeah.
so by seeing those things and being exposed to
Yeah.
them, then he could decide, what kind of career he was most interested in. So he's doing computer engineering because I guess I also did a business with him, virtual reality, VR2U. So
Oh, wow.
junior high, sixth or seventh grade, I'd taken him to a tech fair and, an adult tech fair here
Mhm.
and in Jackson. And he saw somebody doing the virtual reality and thought, I would like
Yeah.
to do that. And it's like, okay. So we did a mobile virtual reality business where he was running the tech stuff and I was helping him, at parties and for businesses and things like that for a few years,
Oh, wow.
just as an extra add-on. And, he did the Minecraft server
Mhm.
because, I couldn't hold him off any longer. And
Yeah.
he built the own computer. It's like, well, if you order all
Wow.
the parts and it works, okay, I
Right?
help you, but good luck.
So
Yeah.
cool. That's so cool that
uh,
he has that innate. I feel like there are certain people that just have that innate
Yeah.
ability to do things like that. Like my husband's one of those
Yeah.
people that takes things apart and just puts it
Mhm.
back together. Like he
Yeah.
just takes it apart to figure it out and put it back together. And my son sort of does that.
It's just
Ah,
it's a lot of practice. You've just got to practice stuff. So,
Yeah.
you
right.
go to the art classes, you go watch the theater, you go to the ballet, all of those kinds of things, you just get a better idea of you either like it or you don't like it,
Mhm.
or,
Mm.
whatever. So, once and then when he was in older grades, I also sponsored all of the clubs so he wasn't missing anything. So if I felt homeschooling was missing something that he was going to miss out on, I made sure that happened.
Yep.
So
Wow.
I was the sponsor of a beta club, so a National Beta Club Leadership Through Service. They allow
Okay.
homeschoolers to participate.
Mhm.
Mm.
Excellent organization. It's all the public schools, but that way
Wow.
they can compete against all of the schools because they need that competition.
Yeah.
And plus the leadership and service is great. And then, it helps you for scholarships and things like that.
Mm.
Then we had a homeschool honor society. There's a national group
Oh,
that does
wow.
Nice.
that. So I made sure that was available for the local kids. And I also created actually during COVID, I
Mhm.
felt bad that all of those students didn't get a prom.
Mm.
So once things opened up,
Yeah.
I started a sort of a internship club where I taught these students the event planning and they planned the prom and events for their peers.
Oh my goodness.
That is
So
so
uh,
cool.
they had a good time doing that. And even, of course, my son was helping. So later on he was able to get a better job at, summer internship at Keesler because he knew
Mhm.
event planning and none of his peers knew event
Wow.
planning.
Mhm.
So those were just some of the things that I did to help the community to have opportunities. So people think homeschooling is you are staying by yourself in your house and you never see anyone. That is not true. You
Mhm.
could if you wanted to, but the
Right.
world is your oyster. You can go make it
Wow.
what you want, and there's so many exciting things to see and
Yeah.
do. Um, so at that point, we had the COVID lockdowns and things, and I realized he was getting older, so I needed to start doing some future career planning to start working back into that.
Right.
And I had gone to, must have been before that. And I had seen an ad pop up in New Orleans for a vampiric masquerade court of the dark fae. I thought that was the
Oh,
coolest thing that I
interesting.
had ever heard of. And I must go. So I bought the expensive tickets and went and thought, this is cool. I made a cool costume, but I could envision it being more because I've gone to the
Mhm.
Renaissance festivals and all of these things. So I wanted a more
Mhm.
immersive experience.
Mhm.
So I thought, I usually my mantra is if I'm frustrated about something and I want something to happen and it's not, I won't complain. I just go make it happen.
You just do it.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, fine. I'll make one here on the coast because it's nice to not have to always drive the 2 hours to something,
Mhm.
and we actually live in a large metro area. I mean, we've got all sorts of casinos, we've got an airport, so it's a
Right.
large population area, but it just didn't have anything like a costume ball. The fantasy balls are very popular now. They've been for a while. We've got Comic Cons, but that's a little bit different. I wanted a formal dress up ball like you see
Right.
in the reading the books you see in the movies,
Yeah.
in the
Mhm.
fairy tales, all of that.
Mhm.
I
It's
love
sort
that.
of like the Renaissance Festival, but it's formal and indoor and no
Mhm.
Mhm.
kids.
And no
Okay.
kids.
And I made mine, the 18 plus because adults need to have fun. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah,
it,
we do.
it's great to do stuff with your kid, but sometimes you just need to go do something with you.
Yeah, that is so cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And Suzanne, talk about making it count and making
Mm-hmm.
memories
Mm-hmm.
with your son,
Yeah.
with your parents. You said the grandparents came
Yeah.
and spent time and were in that same, experience.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that is just, it's gorgeous how
And
you
I'm sure
make
my
them.
parents, when they were in school, they would have never got to do any kind of field trip
Right?
things
Exactly.
at all. So, you know, that was great for them as well.
And how lucky is your son?
Hmm.
Because you're right. I think there's that stigma of homeschool. It's at home.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You took that and just expanded it into let's go have an experience. Let's go to the museum and see the exhibits. Let's go hear this speaker and we can learn about
Hmm.
this. Let's go. Um, wow. So not everybody, not everybody does that,
Mhm.
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And so my question to you is, I don't even know what the heck to ask, but I'm just like, okay, let me formulate this. What would you say to someone that is thinking about homeschool and they're thinking about it in the traditional way? What would you say to that mom or
Well,
dad?
I guess a lot of people right now that are moving into homeschooling, they're thinking
Yeah.
they have to recreate school at home. So then they
Mm-hmm.
get some kind of
Yeah.
internet-based program that they sit their kid in front of the screen
Right.
and do that. That is like the most boring thing that you could possibly ever come up with in your entire life. Would you want to do that? No, no.
Heck no.
So I took I took the charge as my goal for homeschooling was to keep his love of learning and to make him appreciate art and culture and beauty.
Yeah.
So I was looking at it as how
Mhm.
did they do schooling before 1900? They
Mm.
didn't have whatever this modern thing is, they did not have that before. People turned out okay. And so I just took him to see real life things. I guess I was creating a human. I wanted to
Mhm.
create a
Mhm.
functioning human that will contribute to society and be
Wow.
a nice
Oh,
person.
that's
Mhm.
it.
So I I did things that would help him learn about that. I did throw in all of the standardized testing
Sure.
from when he was little because that's another thing to learn about. Because
Mhm.
why would you expect your kid, if you've never given them a standardized test or any testing throughout their whole career, and all of a sudden they are a senior in high school and they have to take the ACT that everyone tells them it's
Mm.
really important, your life depends on this, you're going to get scholarships and whatever, you have never taken any classes, you don't know anything about. I mean, what kind of anxiety is that?
Yeah. So no
That's just
pressure.
insane.
That is nuts.
Do not do that. So I made him take it a bunch of times. So eventually, by the time he got there, I was like, eh. It's another
No big
test.
deal.
Oh, well, no big deal. And then he could take on, it's like, oh, if I study, I might get some money from a scholarship. Why don't I do that? It's not mom telling him he needs to do that too. He took more ownership of it. But
Yeah.
it's just again back to the you're you are raising a well-adjusted human that can
Mhm.
contribute to society, and you need to learn some skills, and you
Right.
can't expect them to know it if they have never learned about it, practiced it, and practicing once does not do it.
Mm-hmm.
Once does
Yeah.
not do it.
Yeah.
You got to go over and over again. So that that was, I guess, on that subject. But
Well, it's interesting too that you kind of taught him entrepreneurial
mhm,
skills within part of
Yeah.
his education, like, or not so much his education, just his experience of life, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but that must be pretty cool because I think, our kids are watching us anyways, so they're seeing what we're doing
Mhm.
and probably he was little, but he probably did mean something to him when you went from corporate to
Mhm.
being home with him and helping him
Mhm.
and helping
Yeah.
him grow. I homeschooled the COVID year and loved it. Obviously it was the COVID year, so we had to do it a little bit different. We did do like a program on the computer just so that it was more like an outline and there was
Mhm.
activities, but it wasn't
Mhm.
all the work on the computer because I was not
Mhm.
about to do that to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so it kind of gave us an outline of what we needed to be discussing. And then,
Mhm.
like, if we were having a bad day, it's like, okay, let's go to the park and take a
Yeah.
walk and do some
Mhm.
science, looking at the
Mhm.
trees and the,
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and we started going to the art museum once that was open again and things like that. But
Mhm.
that adventurous learning and also allowing them to figure out what they really thrive at. So, like
Mhm.
by the end of that year of education,
Mhm.
my son looked at me in June, the last month of school, and
Yeah.
was like, he had already caught on to this whole homeschooling thing. And he was like, he really loves presidents and he loved money. So he was like, so for the last month, can we do like, so for English, I could research a different president each month that's on the money, and then we could like talk about that for history and for math, we could do money math.
Oh my
Excellent.
gosh.
Like
That's
he
brilliant.
had it
Yeah.
like all laid out. I was like,
Perfect.
sure, that sounds perfect, buddy.
Yep.
Because he was so excited about it. So basically drove the education that month, and
Yeah.
again, you learn things too while you're doing it.
Mhm.
Things that we didn't touch on in especially history that we didn't touch on or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like when we got to Andrew Jackson, I was like, oh, all right, he wasn't the best.
Yeah, right?
He was like, why is he still on the dollar bill? Or,
Excellent question.
yeah.
Um, I don't have children, so I don't know of this homeschooling as you speak. However, Suzanne, I feel like you could create a curriculum, not curriculum, but like a program just based on how you raised your son
Yeah.
and what you implemented. And because that's gorgeous, because your goals for your son's learning wasn't just about, okay, he's got to learn these things, but you said becoming a good human,
Yeah.
becoming a nice person, being empathetic, right?
Mhm.
Problem solving skills, like
Yeah.
all of it. I'm just thinking, oh God, that could be
Yeah.
a program.
Public
Just saying.
speaking. So, when we go to
Yeah.
an event, he's over there working the room and
Oh my
talking to people who was,
God.
the shy kid that didn't want to talk to anybody.
Right.
So, it's just all of those things. And, he did very well academically. So then he got
Right.
great scholarships to help him with school and stuff. So he got all of those things,
That's so
as
cool.
well.
Incredible. Incredible. I kind of feel like let's kind of shift the conversation because I have to know more about the fairy ball, about these not wigs, but headdresses. And so tell us about this is every year you do this fairy ball.
Yes, this is an
Okay.
annual event. So, 2020 actually was my first ball.
Oh wow.
So after the COVID lockdown, I had been thinking that I should do
Mm,
a ball on the
mm,
coast, and then that happened. And then I felt it was very important for humans to connect with each other. That
yeah.
is um, almost as much as food and water, we must have human to human connection.
Right.
Online just does not cut it. I mean,
Mhm.
it's better than being totally alone, but I don't know. I guess it's just it must be the energy that because we're made of energy that we
Mm-hmm.
have to
Mm-hmm.
have person to person,
Right.
connection.
Mhm.
So I created the first fairy ball that September, and we actually had about 150 people show up. So it was a
Wow.
good amount, and that's why we did fairy court masquerade ball because that was still the whole
Mm-hmm.
mask deal at that time. Um,
Right.
but I just wanted to give people, for one, a chance to connect,
Right.
a chance to wear a costume, and then I always like to give back to a cause, so we always have some, nonprofit. While we're having fun, we might as well raise money for a
Right.
nonprofit.
Mhm.
Just even a little portion of it helps them, especially the small ones that need more help. Like
Mm-hmm.
the big nonprofits are doing okay by themselves. I
Mhm.
I try to help the smaller ones that don't necessarily have some big gala that they're already raising money with. So it was sort of a combination, in conjunction with a little bit of a Renaissance festival, but it's a different feel because also as we are more experienced in life, we cannot work all day and then party all night as much as we used to.
Right.
So So, and because the ball is at night, you sort of need to like rest and nap a little bit during the day so you can,
Yeah.
go to the ball from, 7
Mm-hmm.
or 8 to, 1 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a while to get dressed. So, um,
Right.
you know, it takes a while to get dressed. So we've had a different theme every year.
Okay.
Um, but the premise is that I'm the fairy queen. And
Mm-hmm.
I started with the Autumn Fairy Queen because that was the costume that I made to go to that New Orleans ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find that headpiece, but anyway, it's a beautiful headpiece, and that one I made all myself, um, with autumn leaves and a corset and all of that. So that's what I wore the first year, and since then, I've just done a different theme, but I
Yeah.
was inviting all realms across space and time to this ball. We were between the worlds, for a great night between the land and the sea,
Good.
because that happens to be where we are.
Yeah.
And that way everybody can, create whatever dream that they have just always wanted to wear. What have you always wanted to wear, but you could not because you never had a place to wear it to?
Right.
This
Mhm.
you can wear it to. Um,
Mm.
this wig was what I wore last year to the Court of Atlantis, and that was
Whoa.
based on I for my costume, I went with Minoan Crete before the fall of Atlantis. So I had
Ooh.
Minoan based
Oh my
outfit. Some
goodness.
people did mermaids and things, but I went with the Minoan Crete mermaid type fairy. And
Wow.
so I do a combination of a historical and fantasy
Hmm.
costume because I love historical fashion, awesome designs, but I want to add my own flair to it and
Yeah, of
not
course.
have to create fashion that is truly historically accurate and
Right.
not use the what do you call it? The improvements that we have had in the last, 1,000 years or so to include with my outfit, because
Mhm.
Right.
I am not in 1700s and I can wear synthetics, I could do different stuff.
Right.
So
Mhm.
I like the detail. I think it's really that I like the detail. Modern clothes are just not attractive, and it's because they've lost the detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The materials have become cheap,
Yeah.
even cheaper with all the fast fashion and all that. The detail is gone. Um, so it's the detail and textures that I love seeing,
Mm-hmm.
and you can mostly only find that on vintage or historic things.
Mm-hmm.
But with a costume like this, you can add all of those, and nothing is too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
so this I'm still working on my costume for this year. This
Ah,
this is the headpiece that I bought to go with whatever I'm going to wear for this year. This year's theme is Court of the Jinn, which is Genie's Arabian Middle Eastern style.
Ooh.
So we're adding more lore to it because it's really based on really my love of books. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big book reader. I
mm.
always
Mhm.
have. And I typically mostly only read books on magical realms.
Oh, wow.
So anything that would be in that realm would be part of the fairy ball. You know,
Yeah.
I see.
and if you like TV shows, Once Upon a Time was very, fairy tale related. Um, the people like Game of Thrones. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a Court of Thorns and Roses that is coming out. All of
Yep.
those, any of those would work. Harry Potter,
Yep.
Uh, yeah.
and even Star Wars, Star Trek, those are
Yeah.
worlds with magic.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek, not so much, but it's still in the fantasy realm, so they're
Right.
cool. Um, and it's a chance for if I don't like labels,
Yeah.
you know, people that would consider some geeks, nerds, whatever, all of those kinds of things. If you have a fandom, that is awesome. Come and play with us. It's just a chance to come and play and have fun. Um, to create whatever it is you want, and like last year was really cool, and I think I'll be able to invite them again. But for my Fairy Queen's Guard,
Yeah.
I had some of the 501st come, so I had a stormtrooper and a
Wow.
Tusken Raider and an Imperial Guard, along with two medieval knights in their metal armor as
Yeah.
my Queen's Guard. So that was pretty cool.
That's so cool.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. Um, where can someone find, first of all, I want to see all the pictures from
There's
like
awesome
past
pictures.
years.
Yes, on
What's that?
our website, we do
Okay.
have pictures from past years, and they're just the creativity of what people come up with is just amazing. And that's what I love to see is I want to do the people watching and see what kind of costume they come up with, and it's just awesome.
Right.
But my website is fairy, FAERY dash ball, BALL.com. And so it's Fae, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not fairy like Disney fairy tale, but
Right.
Fae, FAE, as in anything that belongs in the other world realms,
Mm-hmm.
I see. Oh,
and
interesting.
we'll probably be starting to add in some of the other pantheons as well, like, Asgard and, a little bit of the Greek, just
Oh,
any of
yeah.
those,
Mm-hmm.
Egyptian would be cool. Um,
Yeah.
this one is a little bit, more of Hindu of some of those, but just a chance to wear whatever it is you want. And if you don't want to do that, if that's too much, just
Mm-hmm.
wear a formal, just
Yep.
a base formal, throw something on your head and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can go and you can watch it and you go, next year I should have worn that.
Get
I'll
some
Yeah.
ideas.
next year, I'll come prepared because and especially with the men, a lot of them do that. They will
Mm.
grudgingly go and then they go, oh, planning my costume for next year.
Wow. I love that you can go for a night and just escape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Escape your circumstances, your life, your, whatever, and just go escape, have some fun, which I believe gets you into a new mindset. And to
Hmm.
your point, Suzanne, when you go to one of these things, you think of new things. Oh,
Yeah.
next year I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this. Oh, you know what? That gives me another idea for this other thing that I'm
Hmm.
doing or whatever. It just helps you get yourself in a new mindset and figure things out and have fun.
Mhm.
And so your website, definitely going to take a look at that. We're going to have that in the show notes. And what would you say to someone that's like, okay, I want to go do something like this, but there's nothing in my area?
I mean, for that, I mean, definitely come for an, extended weekend, because it's a beautiful
Yeah.
area to visit
When
here on
is
the
this?
Mississippi Gulf Coast. We are on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. That's Gulfport, Biloxi. This is
Okay.
Love that area.
funny story. This is the landmass that has no names on any of the storm maps. If you're ever on national
Oh,
TV, this is the place that has no name.
the place that has no name. That's kind of appropriate. Kind of mystical, magical.
Yes. So we're between New Orleans is an hour and a half and
Okay.
Mobile is an hour to the east. So
Okay.
we're
Mhm.
along the coast right there. And so there's 3 airports there.
All
And
right.
it makes a nice weekend getaway, whether it's a date night getaway, whether you've got a girls' weekend, get some girls to come get your
Oh my
girlfriends to come
goodness.
down for a weekend. You could really even do a family vacation if I'm working on getting,
Yeah.
like a childcare event.
Oh,
So if
Yeah.
they
wow.
had kids that mom and dad can go to the adult ferry
Yeah.
ball and then we can have the kids go to some fun party
Yeah.
lock-in thing, you
Hmm.
know, at the same time.
Mhm.
But
That's brilliant.
I would say just go. I mean, there are fantasy balls popping up a lot more places.
Mhm.
Since I started this, that has
Yeah.
become very popular. Um, of course, there are long-running ones like in Los Angeles, which is the Labyrinth of Jareth. That's been like
Mhm.
20 some years. Absolutely beautiful event. It's a full weekend at the Biltmore. I would love to go to that someday. It's on my bucket list. Um, you know, but different parts of the country have different things. I think there's some different things up in San Francisco. I
Mhm.
think up in the Northeast there are some as well. So you just have to search for them because there may be some,
Okay.
near your area.
Yeah.
But, everyone is welcome to come down south to the ferry ball here in September.
What are the dates?
For this year, it is September 28th.
Okay.
And next year,
Yeah.
2025, will be the same weekend, so September 27th.
Okay. Perfect.
Nice.
So
So,
mark your calendar. If you can't go this year, mark your calendar for next year.
Mhm.
Can you get, are there still tickets available?
oh yes, yes, tickets are
Okay.
available. Actually, the early bird tickets
Hmm.
um, are available, the discounted price until August 3rd. And
Okay.
then
Tomorrow.
tickets tomorrow. So tickets will still be on sale for the VIPs until September 12th.
Mm.
And the difference is VIPs get an
Mhm.
hour early entry. They will have special entertainment. So we'll have some fire dancers performing, and they will get to have some pictures with the Fairy Queen's red coach. I don't always do a black coach, but I have a red coach, and so I have a little Ferrari that will be there for pictures.
Oh,
That's
wow.
so cool.
A sweet little thing for that, and then they have seats. So they have reserved seating and tables
Oh,
for the VIPs. Then the general
nice.
admission tickets, they're an hour later from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
those are standing room, but they still have all the amenities. So for the event, you are dancing, eating, drinking, shopping. There's a costume contest, people watching,
Yeah.
all of the different things. And we're excited this year. We have the 3 nonprofits we have is Diamond Head School of Fine Arts,
Hmm.
and we will be having them work with the Queen's Reward Meadery out of Tupelo to have mead tasting flights, which will be
Oh,
sort of exciting.
Oh,
Because
very.
if you want to try all these cool flavors, but you didn't want to buy a whole bottle, you're not
Yeah.
sure
right.
which flavor you want, you can taste the different things. So that will be exciting. Plus,
Genius.
we'll have mocktails and cocktails because
Yep.
you don't have to drink to have a good time. You can have a
Right.
fabulous time without drinking. So we will have some cool mocktails available, as well as the Fairy Court Princess will be having a tea and boba stand.
Ooh.
You know, she's one of the teens that I have mentored for like 5 years. So she's been working with me. So now she's going to be having a tea and boba stand because they evidently really like tea and boba. So that will be another availability. Plus, we'll have food, cool vendors. So it'll just be
Oh my
exciting.
goodness.
Lots of photographers. So there'll be plenty of places to have your photos taken. Um, and actually, we will have Katie Rose again this year. She's an awesome watercolor portraitist, I guess,
Okay.
and she will do a watercolor of your outfit for the evening.
That
So
is
Oh,
it would be
so.
a live painting.
really?
Yeah.
Hmm. Sorry. I'm like, okay, what's my
Wendy's planning a
calendar?
trip in her
I
head.
know.
Yeah.
What's
It's
my
like,
calendar look like in September?
yeah.
What is, Suzanne, what is the treasures market?
Okay. So I've been having this fairy ball for a few years, and people keep saying, well, what do I wear? Where do
Right.
I get that? Because a lot of the costume shops have closed here in our area.
Mhm.
So I have started a treasures market, which is a pop-up consignment sale for all things dress up and party.
Oh,
So I've changed the name is Formals, Costumes, and Holiday Treasures Market. So it's anything party. So you want to go to formal. So you've got your prom, homecoming, wedding,
mhm.
Mardi Gras balls, or the fairy
Right.
ball. Then
Right.
you've got costumes. So are you going to go to the Renaissance Festival? Are you going to go to a Comic Con? Do you need a cosplay?
Yeah.
Are you going to a witch's walk? You need the witch's costume. You're going to a pirate day. You need your pirate costume. All of those kinds of things. And because I'm in an area where people have costumed and dressed up for years, they have
Mhm.
closets full of stuff. And you
Oh.
keep the stuff that you loved, but it is never going to fit anymore. It is
Yeah, right.
it is not going to fit anymore. And if it did, you are not going to wear it.
Right.
So and you didn't want to always just give it to Goodwill or American Thrift or Salvation Army because you don't think are going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
So you keep it. But
Right.
with the treasures market, the goal is that everybody that has those kinds of things, they can clear their closet because you
Yeah.
have been keeping an awesome dragon hoard of only the good stuff. You kept the good stuff. You've got the good stuff. So if you put it in this consignment sale, then the whole building is filled with all of the fun things to shop.
Mm.
Mhm.
Because if you're looking for a formal or a costume, you go to a regular thrift shop, huge store, and like this much
Mhm.
is that section.
Right.
It's
Mm.
not enough. So in this case, the whole building is filled with all of those things. And
Mhm.
it's at least twice, at least 2 times a year. I've been doing spring and fall for the last 2 years.
Sure.
I may do one in maybe January-ish. I've got to work on the dates because
Hmm.
that's when people are starting to go to their Mardi Gras balls
Yeah.
in the spring.
Right.
So it's just anything that you would wear to a party, um, photography backdrops, decor for
Hmm.
event planning. I could even see, like wedding decor, all of those
Totally. Yeah.
chair sashes and
Right.
centerpieces that you got, they are sitting in your closet.
Mm.
Yeah. Clear out your closet. Go see Suzanne. And like you said before, Suzanne, everything is energy.
Mhm.
Yes,
Everyone is energy. So I can imagine your treasures market. You walk in and you just feel this incredible, fun, creative,
yeah,
festive energy.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And so, you know, it would be new, gently used, pre-loved,
Right.
vintage, could be custom things. I'll be starting to do more custom things where I'm taking the things that I'm upcycling and making them more cool to wear, or,
More cool.
more modernized than whatever. So we'll be adding more of that, as time goes. I've had a renovation for the last year, so my sewing studio is almost ready. So I'm very excited about that to be able to start doing more
That's
sewing and things
exciting.
like that. But it's
Excellent.
anything in that realm of party. But I want to have people feel comfortable to be
Mhm.
able to do that, because some of them will say, well, I want to do that, but I don't know where to start. Well, it,
Right.
as my whole mantra is, like, just do it.
Do it.
You just got to try. And if it doesn't work out, then you either keep working on it, or sometimes you trash it and you move on to the next
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
know, and you're just
Wow.
wearing it once or twice. But I also want to add stories to it, because that's the fun thing
Mm,
about seeing
really? Yeah.
vintage things is, what was the story of this? Who wore this? What did they do with it? So I want people to add stories to their things, because you've been holding on to this for however many years and you didn't want to let it go. What was your story of why you were holding that? Because that's what's neat to know when
Mm,
you're buying it. It's like, I want to know that. That's cool.
that's right. And you align yourself with the story of the item almost.
Hmm.
You relate to it.
Yeah.
Um, wow. Suzanne, I love the joy that you are putting out there in the world for people, and the fantasy, and you get to escape from life for a little bit and have fun and dress up. Because
Hmm.
who doesn't want to dress up? Like, we've lost that fun aspect
Hmm.
of, like, when we were kids. We loved dressing up.
Yeah.
Well, why not do that in adulthood? So thank you so much for joining us. We will have all of Suzanne's links in the show notes, so you can get tickets, book for next year, go see her treasures
Mhm.
market, go look at all the pictures, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Uh, anything you want to add to wrap up, Miss Steph?
No, I think this was awesome. Thank you so much for being our guest. And
Thank you.
yeah, definitely check out Suzanne's website. Um,
All the things.
pretty cool lady.
Very cool
Awesome.
lady. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
Okay, thank you so much. It was great fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
All right. See you next time.
See you next
Bye.
time.